Hello and welcome everyone to the Per Coffee Cast. We're gonna switch it up a little bit because we had some guests today. So, just gonna kind of give a quick recap, summary of what we talked about before we get into the conversation. Because for me, I thought it was really interesting. We kind of flipped everything. Normally, when we run the podcast, I'm asking Philip and Alan all the questions, and it was just interesting to me because I see you guys as the coffee experts who know 99% of everything, and so to see you guys so excited and kind of asking all of these questions was interesting to me. And I mean, this is like the next level of coffee that I don't even know the questions to ask Andres. But yeah, what did you guys think? How was it for you?
It was really cool. I mean, I've spent a little bit of time with Sofia before, and she's amazing. Her, Barry, and Felipe have visited the roastery, and they're just also generous and nice and awesome. And the fact that they have amazing coffee is just the icing on the cake. Especially, it was fun, especially to meet or to speak directly to Andres today. We've had him for an event before, and we've had his coffee a few times, and it's just out of sight. I'm just completely blown away every time, and I think Alan can speak even more passionately about this most recent coffee, La Lucion.
Yeah, totally, and it's, I mean, like you said, this is the third opportunity that Perk has had to talk with Andres. We had an event last year when we had two of his coffees, and then recently did a smaller event with some of our baristas, and it blows me away that he produces these ridiculous coffees, and you can tell he's clearly super passionate about all of the things he does, but he's the most chill, relaxed person you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Like, he's totally unflappable. It's this really funny juxtaposition, but there's no denying that what he puts out into the world is phenomenal. And I've had all of these questions going back to the first coffees we tasted from him about his mindset and how does he get there, and what's the approach he takes, and then what were the factors just in his life and his community that led him to to coffee farming, to producing this level of coffee, and then even these specific coffees. And he does get a little bit into all of those factors and his mindset. And I mean, I have a million more questions, but it was so fun to just hear hear him talk about that jump that he made. He said it was 4 years ago into, he called it specialty coffee, but this is so far beyond that blanket umbrella of specialty coffee. I mean, this is some of the best coffee in the world, and it's cool to hear both that jump, and then also to know that the community around him is what allowed him to go from not producing specialty coffee to producing a cup like this in 4 years, which is just mind-blowing.
Well, and also knowing some backstory that we didn't get into on the podcast, he works with his uncle at their farm, and he started at age 12, being growing up near the farm and on the farm and working at the farm. And I think at that point was producing, I guess what he's referring to is not specialty coffee, is more of those sort of more traditional Colombian coffees that are, I think it's still specialty, but not this level of coffee, right? This like, holy crap, this is, sends my brain into the stratosphere and melts my face off and puts it back on in a different order, and I'm never going to be the same.
You guys are real masochists about your coffee.
Well, I mean to say, these are the kind of coffees that, like, they once you have them, your life is different. You know what I mean? Everything then becomes like, well, remember when we had that coffee after that? Like, or remember La Lucion? Every coffee from then on, or your life experience, like, you can kind of, I'm sure Alan and I are going to come back and be like, well, remember in 2023, that crop from Andres Cardona. So those are things that that are definitely true. So, and he says as much, that coffee can change the world, and I think he's onto something, and it's definitely something we're passionate about. And I love that different people's passion kind of comes out in sort of different
Yeah.
personalities, and I think this is a really great like example of a handful of people on this podcast who that is very true of.
Absolutely. All right. Well, any other things you wanted to say before we let people tune in? All right.
No,
With that,
enjoy.
then, yeah, enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side. Hello and welcome to the Perk Coffee Cast, episode 4, which we're calling Meet the Farmer, Andres Cardona. We are joined by not only owners Alan and Philip, but a few special guests. So, Alan, I'm going to turn it to you. Not only what are we drinking this week, but with whom are we drinking?
Yeah, so yeah, this one is I was just saying this is my favorite coffee I've had this year, full stop. I am totally in love with this coffee. It is La Ilusión, which was produced by our guest Andres, and brought to us by Unblended, which is represented by Sofia here. And it is a natural coffee from Colombia that is this like just perfect balance of mixed berries and interesting and sweet and so crushable. Like it's one of these coffees that I drink and I constantly want another cup of it. So this is very exciting for me to hear a little bit about what went into getting such an incredible coffee. I mean, into the world and then to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just to add, I agree. It's an amazing coffee. We've cupped a lot of coffees that from Unblended that were all amazing. And every time we cup coffees, we cup them blind, so we know we group them specifically for coffees that are maybe naturals and more fruity or wash coffees. But we consistently pick out Andres coffees as being ones that we love. So definitely keep coming back to wanting to know more about him and what he's got going on, and it's exciting to have him here.
Yeah, and so this week we're gonna kind of stage as a lot of questions to Sofia and Andres, but welcome, bienvenidos, and do you want to introduce yourselves so listeners know who we are?
Ya, Andrés, que te presentes aquí con todos.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Well, for those who can't see, we had a technical difficulty. Andres just dropped out, but we'll try and get him back in. Sophia, I think, is going to do some potential troubleshooting with him.
Magic.
Yeah.
That's right.
No.
In the meantime, Sophia, do you want to share what he had said so far?
Yeah, so he was saying, hello everyone, I'm Andres Cardona. I'm from Santa Barbara, a town in Antioquia. And I work together with Unblended and Felipe Trujillo. And then that was it. Let me see if I can.
Sure.
Well, I can
that's the
talk
story
a
of
little
how
bit
this.
about our first time meeting
Sure.
Sophia, and in September of 2021, I believe, Sophia and Felipe, who was briefly mentioned, and Barry from Unblended came to visit us, and we cupped coffees together here at our roastery, and we were immediately blown away, both with the quality of coffee and how awesome they all were as individuals. So really, really excited to work with them and to work with them again. So we're definitely it'll be fairly frequently you're going to see coffees from Unblended, and I'm sure from Andres come across our offer list for sure.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us. For me, it was also a very special day because it was my first time like traveling to the US to like actually sell coffee and like understand a little bit more how you were doing all the process, and you were like one of the first like people to host us, to be part of that. So I have that day in my heart and in my mind, and so thank you to you as well, because you've been like very important in this whole process.
Same. And also it's great to meet Felipe, who I know is really important in everything happening with at the farm level in Colombia too. So it's great.
Hola Andrés.
Hola,
And we're back.
Yeah.
¿alcanzaste a escuchar algo, Sofi? No sé.
Estabas diciendo que vivías en Santa Bárbara, que trabajas de la mano de Felipe Trujillo y Unblended, pero no, puedes contar un poquito más cuánto tiempo llevas en la caficultura, cuánto tiempo llevas ahora en el café de especialidad.
Ok, pues en cuanto al tiempo de estar con el café, llevo pues prácticamente toda mi vida porque el café es de descendencia ya de mis padres y abuelos. Con el tema de cafés especiales llevo alrededor de 4 años y sí apostándole mucho al tema de mejorar cada día mis procesos y hacer nuevos procesos también.
So he's saying being a coffee farmer for many years, like all his it comes with his traditions and family. But he's been in the specialty coffee for almost 4 years now, like trying to like develop more processes and improve the ones he has.
And I'm gonna jump in and share a little bit of our first experience, coffee wise. So only 4 years is mind blowing to me because the coffees that we brought in a year ago, it was the same coffee, all exactly the same off the plant, and then diverged in processing. And one was processed in a way that it became the Luna Azul, and the other was processed in a way that became the Red Sunset. So one was a semi-washed, one was an anaerobic, and one ended up tasting like blue raspberry Jolly Ranchers, which is a flavor I've never experienced in coffee before. And the other was this like deep red tart cherry, like cascara tea, if you've ever had it, like the coffee cherry flavor. And both of them had some kind of unusual processing around them, but it was this really, really fun experience. And we released the two together in a box where you got a little bit of each coffee. And I know for me and for a lot of people, it's incredible to have controlled all the variables up to processing, and then for the two processes to dramatically change the experience of consuming that coffee. And it was such an incredible way to understand the impact that producers have just by the decisions that they make post harvest and into processing. And to hear that that's at that point, so it would have been year 2 that Andres was producing the two of these. That leads me to want to know how does Andres, how do you think about producing coffees like the Luna Azul, the Red Sunset, La Ilusión? Do you start with an end flavor that you're trying to achieve and work backwards, or do you try new things and see what happens?
I'll translate. Andrés, ¿ahí me oyes?
Thank you.
Listo.
Sí.
Él estaba, pues cuando tú dijiste que llevabas 4 años, él se acordó que el año pasado fue que hicimos el lanzamiento de tus 3 cafés con ellos, el Red Sunset, el Luna Azul, el Natural, creo que todavía no lo teníamos, y lo compararon con un lavado que ellos tenían, y ver cómo, pues cómo con la misma semilla del mismo árbol se podía obtener un proceso, un sabor totalmente diferente, muy, muy diferentes con el proceso y ahí ellos como que entendieron qué tan importante pues es para el productor entender esa parte y poder manipular también el proceso para tener un resultado final. Entonces para él eso ha sido como impresionante porque apenas fue hace un año que probó todo y ahora pues verte como dónde has llegado y todo, pues está como impresionado. Y él pregunta que cuál es como tu intención para desarrollar estos nuevos procesos, como que tú empiezas como, quiero que me sepa a caramelo, entonces lo voy a hacer así. O es más bien desde experimentando qué puedes hacer y luego miras como a qué sabe. ¿Cómo has como pensado en esos procesos con el café? Igual eso ha sido también como más por el asesoramiento con Felipe o cómo has hecho.
Sí, sí, Sofía, más que todo los procesos uno nunca puede garantizar que voy a hacer esto para que sepa esto, ¿cierto? Por lo general se busca con los métodos de fermentación resaltar ciertas notas, resaltar sabores y quizás mente asimilarlo a lo que uno quiera llegar, pero no como tal decir que lo voy a hacer que sepa chocolate y lo voy a hacer así porque va a saber a
Ujú.
chocolate, no. Pero sí buscamos más que todos de estos varietales que tenemos acá en Colombia, que son unos varietales que no están, pues que digamos que sin proceso son los mejores, entonces que son el Castillo, que son ciertos varietales que no tienen una tasa muy marcada ni muy reconocida. Entonces, gracias a estos procesos de fermentación hemos logrado tener unos muy buenos cafés y presentar un buen producto que guste a todos los que lo tienen.
Ahí voy a traducir ahí y luego te hago otra pregunta. So he's saying that in coffee, what he has experienced is that it's really hard to like start with the result and then try to like think of a process because you actually never know. You can control things and he says because in my farm I have like Castillo and Colombia that are varieties that are more productive rather than like a already like a good flavor profile, for example, a geisha or a chiroso. So what he tries during this fermentation is to highlight those attributes of these varieties. So, for example, I don't know, Castillo has some chocolate that's like being hidden in like somewhere in the bean. So by this fermentation, um, he tries to like highlight more of those flavors by like thinking how many days he can um, he must ferment the cherries. And for example like he always has to do like those two processes at a time, so Luna Azul and Red Sunset, because with Luna Azul, that's the black honey, he obtains the coffee juice from the cherries, and same with the natural, and then he used that coffee juice to produce the Red Sunset, that he like the pulps the cherries and ferment the cherries with that juice. So that's how like he's been able to like obtain three different results with the same coffee beans.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's interesting too to make connections to what we do with developing the profiles for those same coffees, because it's actually a fairly similar process, right? We sample roast the coffee all at one level, we taste it, and then based off of experience and other things and what we're tasting in that flat sort of line roast, we try to highlight and bring out things that we think are within the coffee. So it's really fun to kind of constantly see similarities and sort of the discovery process between farming, roasting, and even brewing coffee when we're dialing in espresso
Mm-hmm.
or dialing in a pour over or whatever. It's really, really neat to see those connections both with that discovery and in the actual connection. It's interesting that we share such similar stories, even if we don't know each other that well. So it's really neat to now get to know each other a
Yeah,
little bit more.
that's nice.
It's awesome.
Andrés, ellos están diciendo que, pues que ahora que tú dices eso, que pues pruebas como para resaltar atributos de lo que tienes en la finca, a ellos les pasa muy parecido. Y Philip está diciendo que muy curioso que al estar tan lejos, pues pasen por cosas similares. Ellos en la cafetería, digamos que lo que hacen es ensayar diferentes curvas de tostión para ver como qué atributos del café que ya están se pueden resaltar. Entonces, hacen esta curva y dicen, no, pero yo siento que este café podría ser más dulce. Entonces, para eso, ¿qué tengo que hacer? Entonces, digamos que para ti es más desde el proceso de la cereza y de la transformación de la fruta, para ellos es más desde la transformación pues del grano a tostado. Entonces, pues que nunca lo había visto de esa forma y muy chévere encontrar como esas similitudes en procesos que, pues,
Sí,
que se ven
Sofi,
tan
de acuerdo.
distantes.
Nosotros siempre tenemos que el café es un mundo de expectativas. El café es algo que nunca va a estar predecible para nada y siempre en todo método, en toda preparación va a tener un resultado diferente. Por eso el café es complejo y es de todo, por eso es de acuerdo desde el inicio hasta al final en la taza tiene diversos procesos y todos te conllevan a un sabor, a un aroma, a todo diferente.
Es verdad. So he's saying like it's because we're in coffee. Like coffee is such a complex thing that since the very beginning until the like end consumer, it has many variables and you can play with it. So and you have to like embrace uncertainty and like play with it. And yeah, so he's saying like that's the most beautiful thing about coffee.
Embrace
Can,
uncertainty.
I love that. Yeah, that's really cool.
can I jump in with a question, guys?
Yes, please.
So last week we kind of discussed some of the innovation that's happening in coffee, and this might be a question for Sofia or Andres or both of you, really. Uh, it seems like there's a lot of innovation coming out of Colombia, and I'm just wondering if you have any insight as to why is it that Colombia is such a, I guess, hotbed for innovation and these new kinds of coffees.
Andrés, están preguntando como ¿por qué crees que Colombia ha sido pionero en todos estos procesamientos diferentes?
Y, no sé, hace mucho tiempo Colombia ha sido reconocido por esa suavidad del café y siempre ha estado como ahí metidito en cuanto a buena calidad y buen sabor en el café. En últimos años hacia acá se ha venido deteriorando un poquito eso y es donde hemos empezado con los temas de fermentaciones y cafés especiales, dando otro empuje más para que Colombia siga en ese lugar donde ha estado. Que actualmente Colombia fue reconocido mayormente fue por el varietal que es el Caturro. Ese fue el mejor café que ha tenido Colombia y a pesar de las plagas que le causaron, por eso fue que se alejó un poquito el café, esa variedad de Colombia. Ingresaron otras variedades que redujeron mucho esa tasa, pero gracias a todos estos procesos que hemos estado organizando, se ha estado volviendo a posicionar mucho el café de Colombia ya en Estados Unidos y en todas partes donde ha llegado el café de Colombia.
So he's saying that he thinks it's because Colombia started being like very known because of his like the profile, like chocolate, very soft, very balanced cup. But when like other countries started like having the same profile in like the Colombia variety being as like differentiated as like any other countries. So that's how like we started experimenting in fermentation to kind of like stand out again from where we were before. So he's saying that he believes it's because of like we had a recognition already as a country, but we must like keep it like at the same level now that there are countries that are probably
Yeah.
doing and having the same profile as Colombia.
And I know you might not have the insight on what's happening in other countries as well as in Colombia, but is there a pretty good knowledge sharing then between farmers and producers in Colombia that is also driving some of that? Or that was kind of what we were thinking might be driving some of it, but I'm just curious from your
Well,
perspective.
it's curious because of like this group that we've created right now. They have each of
Mhm.
like the towns they're at creating like their little groups where they share experiences and they cup the coffees together. And
Yeah.
so I really think that this connection
Oh,
between
cool.
farmers like helps doing it easier at least. And
Mhm.
for Andres, like a big part of his fast progress, it's because like he had like where to sell it. He had some people to ask questions about like fermentations, how to ferment. Like
Sure.
he had some like safetiness in the process. Um,
Yeah.
so he was able to like go fast in.
Yeah. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't starting at the beginning. He got to
Yeah,
start in
and
the
I
middle
think
kind
there
of.
is a lot of like sharing knowledge in this industry from at this stage, probably like the bigger farms that are like already known and they have like their secrets. It's good, but like at this
Sure.
level,
Yeah.
there is a lot of and programs also that help in this, like making connections and knowing like people that might help. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of that, can both of y'all, I would love to hear a little bit about who Felipe Trujillo is and what he means to y'all, especially Andres. I know that he's an important person in the organization, and I know a little bit about it, but I'd love to hear it
Yeah,
from y'all.
Andrés, ahí están preguntando que cómo ha sido, digamos, ese acompañamiento de Felipe para ti.
Sofía, como siempre lo he dicho, todo lo que he conllevado con el tema de cabezas especiales ha sido gracias al apoyo de Felipe. Siempre ha estado ahí, ha creído en mí y ha sido un acompañamiento 100%. Siempre ha estado ahí apoyándome y sí, gracias a Felipe es que me he reconocido con estos de los cabezas especiales.
Yeah, so he's saying that having this type of guidance for him has been very important because he has this person that believes in him and like guides him to have good results, so he can be able to actually take these coffees to the U.S. So for him, Felipe is really important, and for us too. Yeah.
That's great.
So, I mean, it sounds like there's the community component, there's the knowledge sharing, there's everything that you, Sophia, are doing, with Unblended, with connecting, roasters like us with, producers like Andres. I guess stepping back, for me as a consumer, I want this coffee to exist in the world. What what are the things that we as coffee drinkers, that we as baristas who are serving this on bar, or us as coffee roasters and sellers of this coffee, what are the things that we can be doing to, I guess, help make sure that this type of production and innovation continues, so that we get to keep trying more amazing coffees
Ooh,
like
that's a
this?
good question. I'll let Andres answer first. Andrés, ellos dicen que pues ellos disfrutan mucho tu café y este tipo de procesos y escuchar como toda la construcción de comunidad que hay detrás, la cercanía. Él pregunta como que como ellos como baristas, como consumidores, como digamos promotores de tu café, ¿qué tendrían que hacer para que tú continuaras con esto?
Y más que todo el apoyo en la compra, como tener la cercanía no sé, de pronto una visita, que eso une más y mm, atrae más al público, a los consumidores y sí, más que todo el apoyo en compra y
Yeah, he's saying, well, like first of all, I think it's like support, like to produce like a coffee on a different process. Andres like is risking everything because like in Colombia you can only sell washed, so like having this direct connection with the buyer, it's like the most important thing for him to produce this type of coffees. And he's also saying like uh, building this type of relationships, come and visit like my farm, like trying to build this closeness so he knows like whenever he produce he can sell it, like or he understands how much do you need so he can produce like accurate to that same amount. And yeah, working very closely, like keeping communicating to each other, and yeah, that type of. And I also believe that just to complement Andres' answer, I think so, because like this type of process, what we've understand with unblended is that like they are limited, like you cannot have it full year, of course, because like you change like probably like two times per month, and that's also good. But like understanding, for example, like how much quantity would you need so we can like project that production here in Colombia. um but that's only possible if we work close to each other. And so I think it's just trying to build this close relationship between all of us and understand that, uh, like for example, Andres Coffee is not an offer right now, but it can also become like part of your business, for example. um, and like that we are here like to work as a team, and I think that's how we can keep this type of processes like post like existing in in the world.
That's really great feedback. That's awesome. Well, and I know that the right person's on this call because he can definitely get projections to you. I'm glad that he's here because he's the numbers guy for sure.
Um, yeah, I'm again just blown away by the coffees we've had, and I mean this coffee that we're drinking now, which we're almost out of. I think we have about 100 pounds of it left, and then it's gone forever.
Or
And
at least this season.
right. But I'm looking forward to what's next, but I'm also curious on a much bigger scale. I mean, we're only 4 years into, Andres producing incredible coffees like this. What do the next 4 or 20 years look like for coffee?
Good question too, Andrés. Ellos están diciendo que cómo, cómo crees que el futuro para ti y para la caficultura pueda verse en unos 4 años o 12 incluso, dijo.
uh,
No, super. So he's saying that he dreams of his coffee like being all over the world. He uh, really dreams of like being able to go and visit the US. He actually got his passport last year. So he's saying like, Sophie, I've told you this many times, like I dream
oh.
going there and serving my coffee together with you. Um, and also being like an inspiration for like the community I'm living, because like I want to be an example that specialty coffee can be a real thing that can take you like to many places. And so uh, through this example, like being able to involve more young people into coffee farming. So that's what he dreams for the next years.
I'm just going to go on the record right now because this is something Philip and I have talked
I can
about
see it in your
for
face. Yeah.
yeah, no, that we've talked about this forever. There's a kind of a norm of people like us going to, we call them these origin trips, right? Going to Colombia, going to a farm, but we've always kind of dreamed of flipping that on its head and instead bringing someone like Andres to, you know, to Savannah or Atlanta, and letting him be part of that, putting this cup in someone's hand and seeing it make their day, and kind of connecting the entire loop. So this is a very real invitation. Like, please come to Savannah or Atlanta. Like, let's
Both.
let's do it.
Yeah. And also just to add on to that, because yes, we've talked about this quite a bit. It's so neat, even as just roasters, to go into a wholesale account or even the cafe where no one really, maybe they don't know who I am. And you kind of just sit like a fly on the wall and watch just everyone drinking the coffee and enjoying it and in kind of a real casual fashion. So I would think that would be a really special moment for any producer, but it would be
Yeah,
great to
yeah,
share with
me too.
Andres.
I'll work so he can get the visa, because that's like the more like complex step
Mm.
of the whole process. I think like for you guys coming here, it's easy because like you only need a passport, but then to like get a visa, it's a whole process. But of course, and thank you for having us. And I know, like for them, it means a lot to understand actually how their coffee is being like promoted, used, and because here in Colombia, specialty coffee it's just starting to develop. Um, and while you've been doing this for like 20 or more years, like I know Philip, you were one of the first. Uh, so so of course you have more experience, and of course you get to understand more like how coffee works from different countries. So being able to go there allow us to have like another perspective on coffee. And so I would love for all of them to have the opportunity to go. Yeah. Andrés,
Very cool.
Andrés, que
That would be
ellos
amazing.
también han hablado mucho de que un productor visite, porque precisamente ellos dicen como que siempre viene pues siempre somos nosotros los que vamos, porque entienden pues que es más fácil, se necesitan menos papeles, pero que ellos igual están abiertos a considerar la posibilidad de tenerte. No hemos hecho la visa, pero ella es un proceso largo, entonces que pues que igual te des cuenta que la gente te quiere recibir allá, quiere tenerte allá y que en Perk estás bienvenido.
um,
So
I
I know we're coming up somewhat on time because I know Sophia, you have
Yes.
a plane to catch today. So I don't know if you guys have any last minute questions we want to squeeze in before.
I have so many questions, but
What's your
instead
most important question?
Yeah.
well, I guess I would ask, of each of you, Andres and Sophia, what is the thing that you most want, us and our team and anyone who may listen to this to know about, either about you or about these coffees, or I guess about that whole value chain, like totally open ended. What do you want people
Andrés,
to know?
¿qué quieres que la gente sepa? Este podcast lo va a escuchar pues la gente que toma café de Perk, los clientes, y están ellos que son los dueños y como qué quieres que la gente sepa de ti, del café, de lo que haces. Mm, no, qué bueno. So he's saying that he wants to share with all of you that he is a very passionate person about coffee. He believes coffee can be the future, and he wants to invite all of the younger generations to like believe in the countryside, and not only in Colombia but in the whole world, to like actually see that, to like have me as an example that working in the countryside can be a way to like fulfill your dreams. Um, and yeah, he was just saying that like being in the countryside is possible, and I want to like have this opportunity to like use this opportunity to share this with you.
That's great. And just to highlight, there was a time in which there was folks that were a little less interested in staying with the family business at the family farm and continuing those kind of things and trying to kind of maybe not do that. And now this is something that is Felipe and Unblended and Andres are promoting this idea that how great a life and using those passions to create these amazing things is. It's great to see. I know that it's something that we're really grateful for. So we really appreciate being able to for y'all to take some time with us today. But importantly, also the coffee is absolutely amazing, and can't wait to spend time in person and to continue our relationship sourcing and roasting just some
No,
amazing
thank
coffee.
you, Philip,
So
Andrew,
thank you so
and
much.
Alan, and Andres. Thank you for having us in mind. You also are like very important for us. So thank you as well for like this little time together today.
Thank you. All right. And thanks to all our listeners as well. I hope you were able to learn a little bit today. So I guess for now, it's goodbye from all of
¿Sí?
us.
Ya, Andrés, ya terminamos.
Adiós.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.